Counting 1, 2, 3. No lipstick on my teeth. Let's film. Hello guys and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make German spice cookies. Pfeffernusse cookies, I believe that's how they're pronounced. They're just basically German spice cookies, and they're cookies that you can find throughout Germany and the Netherlands, Western Europe, and I believe. So we're going to make these today. Now, we're making our own version. This is inspired German spice cookies because these cookies are actually going to be gluten, dairy, egg free, and also I'm going to give you an option for sugar free, and they're also one bowl. So we're going to shorten the time that you usually spend making these cookies and try to make them kind of quick for those on the go this season, or if you're just on the go this winter. This is a great winter cookie, great Christmas cookie. Merry Christmas, by the way. And so this has been a busy holiday for me, so I wanted to make something quick and easy and simple for you guys, and I'll give you some options to make these even better along the way. So let's jump into the recipe. All right. Again, we're going to try to make these one bowl, and we're going to begin with the sugar. So you want a ½ cup of brown sugar. Options, I'm going to give you your options. So to make these sugar free, you can use some maple sugar, you can use some date sugar. It works. I have used that before in the past and it works beautifully. But I'm using light brown sugar, ½ cup, kind of hard. And then we're going to add in our molasses, if I can find it. All right, I've got 2 tablespoons of molasses. Now, traditionally, this cookie is just sweetened with honey. From what I have researched and known in the from my research on this recipe, is that they usually would just use honey, and this didn't really have any sugar in it. But yeah, there's different, different variations of the recipe, and I know these cookies from the commercialized brand. I used to eat the Trader Joe's Pfeffernusse German spice cookies every year. I don't think I wasn't able to find them this year, so I wanted to make my own. But I've only had the commercialized kind. So if you're from Germany and you've had traditional Pfeffernusse cookie, then this may be a little different, but you can change it up and make it your own. Because I know a lot of you guys that are watching this channel are dairy-free, gluten-free, all that good stuff. So we're just kind of giving an alternative version of these cookies, but we're going to try to stay true to that delicious traditional German spice cookie taste. So we're also going to add in 3 tablespoons of milk. I'm using oat milk. You can use whatever milk you choose, almond milk, whatever you choose, you can use. And then I'm just going to kind of give this a quick little mix. And we're gonna add in, instead of butter, because these are also oil-free, I forgot to mention, we're gonna use some cashew butter, about 1/4 cup. And always look at the description box for final measurements and updates and all of that. But we're doing about 1/4 cup of cashew butter. And you guys know I love cashew butter. If you're familiar with this channel, you guys know that when I cook oil-free, I almost all of the time use either cashew butter or almond butter. Cashew butter works very well with this recipe. Just the flavor goes with everything perfectly. So I would recommend you using cashew butter. If you're nut-free, then you could try a nut-free butter. It may taste a little different, but it should still be delicious. So we're gonna just use the blender to blend this up just about a minute or 2 once we add the spices. A few spices here, and we're going to add in about a heaping 1/4 of a teaspoon for each spice, okay? So the first spice that I have here is allspice. Add a good 1/4 of a teaspoon of allspice. I love the smell of allspice. We're gonna add in a 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, a 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground ginger. And if you're really into the spices, like I said, you can do like a heaping 1/4 of a teaspoon or more. Listen, this is your recipe to do as you will. This is the base recipe, and you can spice it up however you like. We're gonna have a 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. I've seen people put cardamom in this as well. If you want to add that, feel free to do it. I've seen people put mace, the mace, ground mace spice. You can put that in there as well. It's totally up to you. We're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I've seen people use white pepper. Feel free to try that out as well. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. So these are the spices that we're gonna use. And again, like I said, I'm gonna take my blender And I'm gonna mix this together, but we have one more, anise. Okay, this is anise extract. And in case you're wondering what it smells like and what it tastes like, it has like a licorice flavor. This was my first time using it, so I had to kind of search for it in the store. I found it in my local Walmart. I find that it's kind of strong, so I just stick with about a half a teaspoon. Find it at your local Walmart. A vital ingredient, so I would not recommend skipping it, but I have seen some recipes that skip it. So, but I would recommend you adding it in this recipe. Then we're gonna mix it with our hand mixer for just like a minute, just to really just kind of warm up those spices, okay? All right, just about a minute and 30 seconds. I went ahead and mixed this, and guys, I can smell the spices. So really nice and mixed. You can smell those spices. Now we're gonna add in the dry ingredients, and again, these are gluten-free. So we're gonna do 1 cup of Bob's Red Meal gluten-free flour, 1-to-1. 1 cup of gluten-free flour. I'm using Bob Red Meal, but you can use, this is the only flour I've tested this recipe with, but if you have another good 1-to-1 gluten-free flour that is similar to Bob's Red Meal, you can use that. I'm using the blue bag. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that. I wanna add a little bit of my flour mixture at a time. We also have some almond flour, half a cup. Add just a little bit of that. And then we have our leavening and salt. So traditionally this is made with baking ammonia. When you would make these in Germany, you use baking ammonia. But obviously here in the States, that's not an ingredient that we can easily find. Baking ammonia, the reason why they use baking ammonia is because it helps rise a heavy dough, a dough that's like a gingerbread, right? It helps it kind of rise and be fluffier. But instead, I see a lot of people use baking powder. You can use 1/4 teaspoon to a half, 1/4 to a half of teaspoon of baking powder. You can use that with a little bit of sea salt. I like to switch it up and use 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. This time I'm gonna switch it up and do 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/8 teaspoon of baking powder, just to see if that will make the cookies softer. So if you want your cookies soft on the inside and a little bit crunchy on the outside, use baking powder and maybe a little bit of baking soda. If you want these a little softer, then you can use baking soda and a little bit of baking powder. All the measurements will be down in the description box. So I'm gonna put in my salt, baking soda, baking powder. Okay. And so I'm just gonna keep adding the rest of the dry ingredients until we have a nice cookie batter. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. Now I've seen recipes where people, traditionally, they would rest the batter and they would put the cookie dough, they would rest the cookie dough and they would put it in the fridge overnight. But of course these are quick Pfeffernusse German spice cookies. So we're not gonna do that. But if you wanna try putting this dough in the fridge overnight, you can do that. What I do, I cook them, and then what I like about this cookie dough is the longer it sits, the longer the cookies sit, the softer they get and the more intense the spices get. So the next day, after you bake the cookie and glaze it and let that glaze harden overnight, the next day, they're even more delicious. The third day, they're even more delicious, absolutely delicious. But even if you serve them the day of, they will still be delicious. The spices might not be as pungent, but it's still gonna be delicious. The cookies might not be as soft, but they'll still be delicious. So, I know I'm putting this recipe up kind of late, so it's kind of late to be, you know, cooking things days ahead of time. But my schedule, like I said, has been super busy. So I just was like, look, this will be great for New Year's. This will be great for winter time. So you can make it anytime you want. Just kind of keep mixing it. It's gonna be a tough dough. It's gonna be, you might have to get your hands in here. But just kind of just keep working with it and everything will come together. Now, if you want these cookies, you can make a lot of cookies. If you use a teaspoon, they'll be kind of small, and that's normally what you would use. If you want them a little bigger, you know, maybe like quarter size, then you can use a tablespoon. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it, but if you want these to be all the same, I would suggest you getting like a tablespoon. Get these in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 minutes. That is the perfect time for these cookies. I would recommend you going 12 minutes. If you cook them for 14 minutes, that's okay, but they will be a little bit more crunchy, but they will get softer the next day. So I think the day of, if you're gonna eat these and you wanna devour them immediately after they cool in ice, then you should cook these for 12 minutes, 350 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven. I'll show you guys when they're done. Go ahead and start on the icing. Once they are done and they're cooling, all you're gonna need is some powdered sugar and some hot water in the oven. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Look at that, guys, fresh from the oven. They're looking absolutely delicious. Let these cool totally. And in the meantime, we will make our little glaze. And all you need is water and powdered sugar. These in powdered sugar, while they're warm, you could do that too. You could just toss these in powdered sugar. That will work. But we're gonna glaze them because I love these cookies with a nice glaze. And so that's what we're gonna do. Taste test. Are you guys ready? I've already tasted one, but we're gonna taste another. Let's try it. I think I'm gonna go make me a cup of hot Earl Grey tea, guys, and have some of these. They're so delicious, and I have to say, for this to be the first day, they're absolutely delicious. You can taste a lot of the spices. I hope you'll try the recipe. Everything will be down in the description box below. Merry, 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 Merry Christmas. I hope you guys have a Merry, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful New Year, and hopefully I'll be bringing even more great recipes your way. And subscribe if you like to see more. So I will see you guys again very, very soon. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. God bless. Merry Christmas.